You found this video because you're 40 or you're approaching 40 and you've decided it's time to get rid of your belly fat for good. You're sick and tired of the way it feels in clothes, the way it feels without clothes, and you just want a solution that's going to get rid of it for good. So you've either hit that landmark age of 40 or you're close to approaching. It feels like keeping your waistline trim is like fighting with a bear. And you look around you at your friendship circle, you feel like you just have to just give up to that dad bod. It's just inevitable. It's just something that comes with age, but part of you refuses to believe that. The good news is you don't have to have that typical dad bod. You don't need to look like your friends, just like you've just completely let yourself go. I'm gonna give you 5 simple strategies that help you lose your belly fat for good. At times it may feel like that fit and lean appearance is behind you. I completely get it. You may feel like no matter what you do some cardio, you do some resistance training, you start to diet, you just start to overall eat better, and nothing seems to really happen to that belly fat. Yes, you make changes everywhere else, but that belly fat just seems to stick around. If that sounded familiar in any way, you're not alone. Literally, so many people struggle with belly fat, more specifically because they're focusing on gimmicks and not focusing on like a long-term strategy. Your belly fat in general is stubborn, so it does take a while to go. That's why you need to ditch these get slim fast gimmicks, because they're not going to work for you, especially over 40. So you're probably wondering what changes when you're 40, because these strategies are going to sound familiar and maybe a bit too simple, and you're going to be like, but do you really? Because you need to be a bit more focused on these things in order to get results when you're over 40, when you're probably moving a lot less. So the first one is protein intake. Yes, being in a calorie deficit, eating carbs, fats, and protein is equally important, but protein is going to get the spotlight here because so many people underestimate this macronutrient. What I've noticed from looking at hundreds of food diaries is protein always seems to be on the lower end, especially when someone's trying to diet. So what's special about protein? Protein helps preserve muscle mass, which is going to help boost your metabolism. Protein is also the most filling macronutrient, which means when you consume enough protein, you're probably going to eat less throughout the day. Protein also has a higher thermic effect of food, which means digesting it is going to actually consume more calories. It's marginal, but it does add up. You don't just want to take that advice and run with it and just be like, oh, I'm just going to eat protein. You want to eat enough protein, but at the same time also obviously eat carbs and fats. When it comes to protein, you want to be consuming 1.5 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Anywhere in that range is going to cover you. So if you weigh 100 kilos, then you're looking at between 150 to 200 grams of protein daily. You can get that from mixed sources, but I would recommend mainly from lean sources of protein and having 3 to 4 servings a day. That can be 3 to 4 meals, which each contain between 30 to 50 grams of protein. Chicken breasts over chicken thighs. You want leaner cuts of beef, so like low fat low fat forms of mince, for example. And if you have like a sirloin steak, just remove the fat. I actually like sirloin steaks over most steaks unless you're gonna have fillet steak, because you actually see the fat and you can just chop it off. If you remove that fat, you're saving hundreds of calories over the course of a week. Also low-fat dairy, like low-fat Greek yogurt and low-fat cottage cheese. Now let's talk about workouts. No, you can't crunch your way to a six-pack, or you can't crunch away your belly fat, but resistance training is gonna help maintain muscle mass, which is going to help support your metabolism. It's going to help you burn more calories at rest and more calories when you're actually working out. At the same time, it's still going to be able to burn calories. So resistance training should be your #1 focus. It also prevents a slowdown in your metabolism, which happens with age, generally from muscle loss and fat gain. So those will slow down your metabolism, and resistance training will make sure you're not losing muscle, make sure you're building muscle, and that's going to support your metabolism. And some studies have shown that even in the absence of a calorie deficit, resistance training can actually burn visceral fat. That's fat around your midsection. Yes, of course, so can aerobic training, and even faster in the short term. But as a long-term strategy, which you need to lose belly fat, resistance training is going to be your better bet. It seems to be easier to stick to like a resistance training plan in the long run than an aerobic training plan. This is likely because of the impact an aerobic plan can have on the joints, and resistance training is very low impact. And I'm not just talking about doing the rounds in a gym, just walking around the gym, doing whatever machines available. Have a solid plan, focus on 2 to 4 resistance training sessions per week, and make sure you're getting stronger over time. You're focusing on progressive overload. The third one is just generally being more active. It's time to ditch the couch for the most part. Yes, I get it. being active is a bit of one of those things that are up in the air. Do I run? What do I do? I suggest focusing mostly on walking. And why do I say that? It's because it's lower in impact and it's more sustainable in the long run. It's tempting to go for like miles and miles, like running outside. Yes, like once or twice a week, that's completely fine, but I would focus on predominantly walking. The average person gets in around 3,000 steps a day. So if you get that to 8 to 10,000 steps, you're burning an additional 300 to 500 calories, depending on how much you currently weigh. Yes, it may be tempting to do like HIIT training to speed it up, but you've got to remember, if you do HIIT training, first of all, it's high impact. It's going to interfere with recovery from your resistance training sessions. The second one is, if you do a HIIT session, for example, in the morning or whenever you do it, you'll move less throughout the day and you'll actually burn a similar amount of calories, if not the same, as if you were doing like a moderate to low impact form of cardio. And also, high intensity training can actually increase your hunger, making it harder to stick to your actual nutrition plan. Now the elephant in the room, alcohol. But before you freak out, just hear me out. Alcohol and belly fat are not exactly best friends. You probably won't be surprised, but even moderate alcohol intake can increase visceral fat. With alcohol, you're drinking your calories, and it's a lot easier to drink your calories than it is to eat them. Imagine drinking them alongside eating them. That's going to be a lot more calories. But I'm not telling you to ditch alcohol forever. You can still go for a few drinks a week, or you can go for a drink a few times a week, but you just need to structure your nutrition around that. Depending on how big the drinking session is going to be, you can reduce calories the days up until that, or just reduce calories on the day. I usually like to take calories from carbs, so I'll reduce carbs because most alcohol just contains carbs. The last strategy I want you to use to get rid of belly fat is to lower stress levels. You're probably like, what do you mean? But stress levels, amongst many other things, can actually impair fat loss, particularly around the belly. One study found that high stress levels were associated with higher levels of belly fat. So reducing stress can actually reduce the amount of belly fat you have. When you reduce stress, you experience better recovery, better sleep, and just generally better results. Some simple strategies to reduce stress are meditation, sleep, walking, deep breathing, yoga, some light stretching, laughing, mixing with friends and family. So that's really all for the video. If you follow these 5 strategies, you will lose your belly fat for good. Remember, it does take time, so implement these slowly. Focus on what you can do right now and work on that until you're very good at it, until it feels easy. Then you can move on to the next one. So break it down into different sections. Can you focus on your protein first, for example? Then you'll focus maybe on resistance training. When you slowly stack those habits over time, it'll feel a lot easier and your journey will feel a lot smoother, and you'll avoid that feeling of overwhelm, which just puts you off. Any questions at all, comment below. Any deeper questions, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. Have the best day ever, and we'll talk soon.